Welcome to a Life Under Construction podcast. I'm your host, Rhoda Daniel, and I'm extremely happy to have you here with me today. If you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or watching on YouTube, welcome. I hope you had a good week, and I hope this podcast will make your week even better. On this podcast, we talk about all things that are needed to build the lives that we want. And today, we will be talking about wisdom. There is this story that is often told about the wise man and the foolish man. You might have heard this story before, but let me quickly summarize it for you. Both of these men, the wise and the foolish man, wanted to build their houses. The wise man built his house on a rock. The foolish man built his house on sand. Both of these houses were built, and both of these houses were standing. However, when the storm came, when the rains came, guess which house fell down? The house that was built on sand fell down. It came crumbling down, whilst the other one stood firm on the rock that it was built on. Wisdom is that rock. Wisdom is that rock that we need to build our lives on. If you're listening to this podcast, I know one thing for sure, and that is that you are serious about building your life. I also know that this podcast is not the only thing that you are consuming in order to build your life. You're probably listening to other podcasts, watching other videos, reading other books in the quest of trying to find wisdom from people who have gone before you. But wisdom is not just about listening to the wise. Wisdom is about listening and then doing what wisdom says. Most of us listen. We're very good at listening. We're very good at consuming, but we don't do. That's why most of our houses, if you look closely enough, if you take the time to look closely enough, are on the verge of crumbling because they are built on sand. We have listened to all the wisdom. We have taken the easiest aspects of it. We have put in the bare minimum and built our house to stand, believing that it would be enough, but it isn't. One day when the rains come, one day when the storms come, and they will come, this house that we have been building with the beautiful walls and the aesthetic interiors does not have a chance to stand on its own. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to give you a chance. Take some time to go look at your house. Go look at the life that you have been building and just check whether it is being built with a good foundation or not. The foundation is the most important part of a house. The deeper and the stronger the foundation is, the taller and the stronger the house will be. But to a house owner, the foundation is probably the most boring part of building a house or getting a house built. It's not pretty to look at. It's bland and it's boring, and it takes a lot of time when you just wish that you could start building the floors, start designing the interiors. But if you don't take that time, whatever we build on top of it is not going to last for a long time. Yes, the interiors are the fun part. We all want to think about the colors of our walls. We want to think about the curtains that we're going to put up, the sofa that's going to be in our hall, the color and texture of that sofa. Those are the fun parts. Those are the things we want to take time on. Those are the things that we know that others will see. Nobody's going to come into your house and admire the foundation. They're going to admire the interiors. So we wish we could skip the part of the foundation. We wish that it didn't take so much time. We wish that we could skip to the good part. But it is the foundation that sets the house up for success and stability. It is the foundation that sets us up for success and stability in our lives. To build a sustainable home, more time needs to be spent on the foundation. To build a sustainable life, more time needs to be spent on the foundation. How we spend that time, or are we willing to spend that time, is the question. And that begins with assessing our own lives, having an honest look at our own lives, at the lives that we live, at who we are when no one is looking. I'm not talking about the lives that we portray to others, the person that we portray to others. I'm talking about who we are when no one is looking. When we look at that life of ours, when we look at our inner self, are we happy or proud of that self? Or do we usually change ourselves for others because we are not truly happy with the self that we have created, with who we truly are? If you look at yourself, the person you are, behind all those appearances that you have created in front of people, all the appearances that you have created on social media, if you are not happy with the person you are today, maybe it's time to make some changes. Because putting paint on a wall that is cracked is not going to help in any way. It's just going to help temporarily, and that is only in terms of how it is seen. The wall is still cracked if you look underneath. And unless you deal with that crack, unless you deal with that issue, there's no amount of paint that you can slap on it that is going to change the strength of that wall. So take that look at your life, assess yourself as a person, deal with the foundation, deal with the root causes. And all of us know what these are. I don't have to tell you what you need to do. You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do to fix your life. You know the habits that you need to give up on. You know the qualities that you need to develop. You know the person that you want to be. Do that work. Do the inner work in solitude. Take that time in solitude to work on yourself. It might seem boring, it might seem bland, but it is the basis for your life. It is the foundation for your life. And I truly believe that the more that is expected out of us in our external world, the more responsibilities that we have in our external world, the more time we need to spend in our internal world. Because everything flows from who we are inside. We can't get by with shortcuts. We can't get by with doing the bare minimum. We need to put in the work. For that, we also need to have the humility to accept the fact that we do not know everything. Our understanding and our knowledge is so limited, and the moment we accept that is when we open ourselves up to wisdom. But many of us do not accept that. We struggle with accepting that because we believe we know everything. We believe we know better than the next person. And while that might be true, that you know better than the person next to you, that still does not mean that you know everything. That still does not mean that you have the wisdom that you need. Do not lean on your own understanding. Lean on God's understanding. Lean on the understanding of older, wiser people who have gone before you. Do not lean on your own understanding, because your own understanding is fickle sometimes. It changes based on your moods and your emotions and your circumstances. It's often based on your experiences and not on the truth. It is not going to point you to the true north. When you humble yourself, you are able to find wisdom in the right places and follow that wisdom that will lead you down the right paths in life. And when you find that wisdom, when you find that understanding and you gain discernment in life, stay strong in your convictions, because that is again a place where we all falter. We build that foundation, but we get easily distracted by what the world is telling us, and the world is telling us a lot. When you make a decision based on wisdom, when you make a decision based on your beliefs and your convictions, there will be 10 people or 100 people sometimes countering what you believe to be true. So you need to be strong that once you know which way is north, you are not going to stop and ask every single other person for directions, especially if they are directing you the wrong way. You know this is north. So why would you waste your time asking other people for their opinions? Sometimes, yes, I understand that people will give you their opinions when you don't ask for it, and that is where your convictions need to be so clear. And that is all built in the quiet place. You can't do that in public. You need to spend that time in solitude, in quietness, to build your foundation, because once you're out in the world, there are going to be so many counter arguments that you better be strong in what you believe in. You better be strong in what you have decided. That is why building that foundation, taking that time to do that inner work, is so important. Otherwise, it is like that house built on sand. When things are good, it's going to be fine. It's going to stand. It's going to survive. But when things come at it, That is where the foundation and the depth and strength of that foundation truly matters. My dad always says that you are the one most responsible for yourself. So don't let other people, don't let society, don't let culture dictate your wisdom. Hold firm to the wisdom and understanding that you gain in that quiet place, in that solitude, because it is your life raft to get through life. Everything else can cause you to drown. Wisdom in some texts is portrayed as a woman, and they say wisdom is crying out on the streets. She calls out for us to listen. She's trying to get our attention. If only we take the time to stop and listen. If only we humble ourselves and listen to what she has to say. If only we choose wisdom and we live our lives with wisdom and discernment. If only. Only then we will be able to build a foundation that will not crumble in the face of adversity. No matter what happens, our foundation is going to remain strong and we are going to be able to continue down the path that we were supposed to walk on without getting distracted, without getting destroyed, without getting misdirected onto any other path. So that is my hope and prayer for each and every one of you listening here today, that today you will choose wisdom, that you will take the time to assess your own life, your inner life, to check whether your foundation is in order, that you will truly humble yourself and accept wisdom that has been given to you, and then decide to choose wisdom and never let it go. So that's it for today's podcast. I thank you so much for tuning in. If you have anything to add to this conversation, you can write to us at alifeunderconstruction.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also put your comments down below. And I will see you again next week with another topic that will help you live the life that you were meant to live. Next week's episode is the last one of season 1, so don't forget to subscribe and follow to ensure that you don't miss it.